Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Leho. My team and I, for our senior project, are building a mobile application, which we happily called Yoked. It is an application that allows the user to input the ingredients that are placed throughout the various locations of storage in their household and keeps it all in one simple location. That is done primarily, and our main reason for doing so was simply to keep all those ingredients as dispersed and as plentiful as they might be all in one simple location in the user's hand. But we decided to go one step further in this app. Instead of just simply allowing for the user to know what ingredients they have, in many cases the user doesn't quite know what to do with those ingredients. I know I found myself in that situation. So we decided to offer recipes or recommend recipes based on ingredients at hand. Yoked is currently being developed in a React Native framework, which allows for effective and multi-purpose code, since it eliminates the need to write for first either iOS or Android. And if you decide to extend the market of your application, then you have to write for either the other one that you didn't write. In the case you wrote for iOS, then you have to write for Android. Or in the case that you wrote for Android, then you have to write for iOS. React Native basically eliminates not only the need to decide in between one or the other, it simplifies that in the case that one simple code, in many cases not that simple, one mobile development code is applicable to both Android and iOS, making it diverse in other words. Today, for my SPED talk, I will talk about, in my opinion, a key stepping stone recommended for tackling React Native. And that would be its parent language, called React. React, and by extension, React Native, is a JavaScript framework using ECMAScript 6, otherwise known as Babel 6, as well as Node.js for its development. One of the key reasons that React would be recommended in the case that one would want to do a web application, either single or multiple, is that of the concept of components. Components are basically reusable code that allows for a button, or in other words, something as simple as a button or as complex as a complete web page, to be used throughout the application without having to retype the code. You could simply call the components as many times needed, and it would be exactly the foundation for the different attributes that you might set to it. Let me in fact show you an example. As you might see, here on the screen we have a web page open. This is actually a project that I did for my internship. When we were approached by the higher ups in order to build this web page, they wanted something very effective. They don't want to spend much time or much resources on building this application and wanted it to be done the quickest way possible. Myself and my other two interns decided, why not build it in React? Since we knew a little bit about React, we decided to put our knowledge and our study skills to the test. And it paid off in an enormous way. Let me actually show you an example of it. As we scroll down, you can see these are the 6 services that Flood and Fire Solutions offer. Flood, Fire, Mold, Bedbugs, Biohazard, and Animal. As you may notice, each of these buttons, or I guess options, have a different attribute to them. That could either be the background, the on hover color of each of them, or, in other words, the padding, the margin, whichever attribute you want to look into it. What React allowed us to do is simply build a foundation for these options without placing in the attribute or the source code or where exactly or what JavaScript function was going to be called upon um, clicking on either one of these options. We were able to reuse that code, that foundation code, in order to build these 6 different apps, just simply switching out the CSS and attribute for each one of them. Also, another function that React allowed us to do in a much simpler way is if I click on Flood and scroll down, you can see the layout of the Flood web page. Now if I click on Fire, you can see that Fire has pretty much the same layout and the same components, I guess you can call as well, or the same function as the Flood web page. The same goes for Mold. You can see that it looks exactly the same. Nothing else was quite different in it. This was actually done with React as well. We actually were able to just build the web page just from scratch. Just build out exactly the margins, the padding, the simple simplistics of what we needed. Then we placed it, copied and pasted into each function, or in fact just called it the function and called that function to every single one of them, and we were able to have this. At the end, our managers were extremely ecstatic with what we were able to come up with in such a short time. This whole web page with its functions and different attributes were able to be built in less than a month. And I greatly contribute that to the fact that React was able to contribute so much to it. I feel like if we want to be effective web developers or web engineers, React is an important step. So many companies are taking that extra splurge into learning React and React Native by extension, that it's an important investment that we should all invest in. And honestly, the most effective way of doing a web application, or in our case, a mobile application using React Native. Thank you so much.